こんばんは。フォレックス TV ニューヨークのレミです。2月27日水曜日の午後の為替レポートをお伝えします。アメリカ株式市場でダウ工業株30週平均は小幅続伸しました。ダウ平均は前日比9ドル36セント高の 12,694 ドル28セントで終えた。ナスダック総合株価指数は 8.79 ポイント高の 2353.78 で終えた。ニューヨーク外国為替市場で円相場は続伸しました。ドル円は前日比80銭円高ドル安の106円40銭から50銭で取引を終えた。ドル円は一時105円95銭まで上昇しました。ユーロ円は前日比40銭円安ユーロ高の161円ちょうどから160円10銭で取引を終えた。またユーロは対ドルで続伸し一時 1.5143 ドルまで上昇しました。ドル売りが優勢、前日に続き最高値を更新しました。前日の終値 1.49 ドル台後半から 1.51 ドル台前半に水準を切り上げました。バーナンキ FRB 議長の証言を受けユーロ買いドル売りが優勢となりました。それでは IDA グローバルのデイビッド・パウルさんとのインタビューをご覧ください。
Well, it's been quite a volatile session in the FX markets. We saw euro dollar hit another high, breaking above 150 and hitting a high at 151.43. But we had a lot going on in the morning session as well as Bernanke's comments. So at this point, where do you see euro dollar headed?
Well, you're right. We did have a combination of events that were very negative for the dollar today and resulted in euro dollar making a record high. There was a report for durable goods orders which came in below expectations, which suggests that manufacturing activity in the U.S. is going to be weak once again in the first quarter of 2008. There was a new home sales report that came out that was below expectations and showed that month's supply of homes for sale has increased and that prices have dropped more than 15% year over year now, which was a huge jump from what we saw last month. And essentially these negative events proved that there is further deterioration in the U.S. economic outlook, and Bernanke confirmed in his semi-annual testimony to lawmakers today that the Fed would indeed cut again at its next meeting by stating that the Fed remains more concerned at this stage with growth and there are further risks to the downside. Essentially, we're looking for a 50 basis point cut, and that has certainly been a negative factor for the dollar. And we did break an important level of resistance on euro dollar today, which came in at 151.30, which is a 3-month channel top, and as you mentioned, made it towards 151.50. However, euro dollar then retreated, and we would really need a break above 151.50, a close above that level, in fact, to suggest further gains, and then we would be targeting a move to 154 and 155. But until we see that sustained break above 150, we do remain vulnerable to a retracement.
Well, David, we've seen dollar weakness across the board, and today the U.S. dollar index fell to its lowest since its inception in 1973. And another currency that's been gaining strength against the U.S. currency is sterling. Meanwhile, we saw euro sterling hit another record high in today's session. So for the UK currency, if you could outline the fundamentals that will drive the currency and where you see sterling dollar going.
Right. The outlook for sterling is certainly not as bright as the outlook for the euro. In fact, the dollar sell-off is much more pronounced today versus the euro and sterling. Towards the end of the session, cable started to fail. In fact, in the short term, our technical desk looks for cable to fall down towards support. That comes in at 197.90, which is the January 17th high, and then to 197.35, which is the February 14th high. And on the crosses, the outlook does not look particularly favorable for sterling, given the economic problems that the UK economy faces, which are very similar to the problems that the US economy is facing. Essentially, a credit crunch. The credit crunch has caused credit to dry up, and the consumer is facing a number of headwinds. centers to continue cutting rates as the year goes on. And we think that an attractive play at this moment is to be short sterling Swiss, looking for further moves to the downside as the outlook for sterling continues to deteriorate.
Well, indeed, in today's session, we saw real money demand for euro and selling for sterling. But speaking of high yielders, we've also seen the so-called dollar block currencies of Aussie and Kiwi gain against the U.S. currency. So starting out first with Aussie dollar, which has rallied past the 94 mark, where do you see Aussie going forward against the U.S. currency as well as the yen?
Right. At this stage, the outlook does remain favorable for the Australian dollar. In fact, all the commodity currencies in the G10 space have rallied, including those of New Zealand and Canada as well. It was a significant level that we broke above in Aussie dollar today, a November high of 94, which previously had been a level of resistance. On a multi-week basis, we look for Aussie dollar to rally to 98.15, a level of resistance that is formed by a Fibonacci retracement level. And the outlook for a stronger Australian dollar is supported by the tightening bias of the RBA, which is again expected to raise interest rates by 25 basis points in the first half of this year after having just done so recently. The outlook for Aussie yen is less clear because of the fact that the yen does potentially face appreciation as these high levels of volatility we see leave the yen carry trade unpopular. So we do believe that Aussie dollar is a clearer play at this moment and would suggest expressing a view of Aussie strength versus the dollar as opposed to versus the yen.
以上 IDA グローバルのデイビッド・パウルさんとのインタビューでした。 ForexTV ジャパンのレミがお伝えしました。最新の為替情報については ForexTV ジャパンをご覧ください。